Hi, everyone. Welcome to this session of the Globe Summit. It's our annual conference of ideas and what's happening here in Boston and around the world. We bring some of the smartest people in the city together to talk about them. Today, I'm Jon Chesto, a business reporter with the Boston Globe, and I'm going to be talking with Lisa Calise, the Senior Vice President at the UMass system, about the university situation in terms of affordability and what it means for UMass and just the broader structure of how people are affording school and how the demographics have shifted and it's making it harder for a lot of colleges to survive. So I'm very happy for you to join us here. I'm really interested to hear what Lisa has to say. It's a dynamic time, to say the least, in higher education, so we're just going to dive right in. Lisa, thanks so much for being here. I'm going to start with the first and very obvious question. We all see the high ticket costs for going to a private college. How is that affecting parents and students' decisions in terms of how they approach going to school? And how are you seeing it affect UMass?
Thanks, John. Happy to be here. Affordability is top of mind for many families and students. And at UMass, we are very proud of what we have done to ensure that you can get a world-class education at an affordable price. So for UMass, we're working on lots of things, investing in financial aid, using our own resources to invest in financial aid for families, minimizing price increases, tuition price increases, and controlling costs.
So when you say minimizing tuition increases, talk a little bit about what kind of increases that you've had and how are you able to minimize those?
So John, I guess I'd look at the last 5 years. If we just talk about the last 5 years, what UMass has seen as a tuition increase on our published prices is 1.5% average annual increase over the last 5 years, far less than inflation, which, as you know, has been growing at much higher rates. Whether you use CPI or you use a higher education inflation rate, that on average, the annual increase has been over 4%.
And is it about just cost control, or is it also about sort of being creative, in terms of where you allocate things?
Yes. So I think what we've done is approach it from all angles, right? We just talked about tuition and minimizing tuition increases and investing in financial aid to support affordable opportunities for our students, but also controlling costs. And so UMass, as you know, is a system. We have 5 campuses. We're a 5-campus system. And one of the things we've done in the last 5 years is we have really taken advantage of ourselves being a system and consolidated back-of-house services that exist on every university. And the biggest one we've taken on most recently is procurement and accounts payable. What does that do for affordability? It's allowed the university to save $140 million over the last 5 years, which allows us to take scarce resources and really put them in student-facing services. And that's really just us taking advantage of our size. UMass is a $4.3 billion organization, and we spend about $1 billion a year on non-salary related costs.
That's a lot of money. Before the session here, you told me that UMass attendance has been stable. The demographics right now, fewer people are going to college, just the population of that age population is dropping. So what kind of impact, how have you been able to maintain sort of steady enrollment? What kind of impact has that demographic shift had on UMass?
Sure, thanks, John. So UMass is not immune to the demographic shift. As you probably know, that declining demographic of college age or college-bound students is more prevalent in the Northeast and the Midwest. We at UMass are actually able to stabilize our enrollment despite these demographic headwinds that are often talked about. And so stabilizing enrollment in this environment really is a victory. But if you were to look back over the last 20 years, you would see enrollment growth that was on an average annual basis, probably 20 years ago, about 3%, declining to 2%, declining to 1%, and now we're in a stable enrollment environment. We're doing that. We've been talking about this demographic shift for years and preparing for it and using lots of strategies to make sure that folks understand the value proposition that UMass offers to students. We do that through partnerships with community colleges so that we have seamless transfer processes for students that start in a community college. We are working on programs that allow high school students to get credit toward a degree while they're in high school, which makes college more affordable. And we're also doing all kinds of strategies on retention to retain students that come to UMass, and also lots of outreach strategies.
So you mentioned of the affordability of UMass versus privates. We did get a question from the audience about maybe you talk a little different about the difference between the public education and private nonprofit institutions. You probably have some metrics or say like, here's how UMass compares versus other state schools. Here's how UMass compares against the typical private school. I don't know if you can go into detail about that.
Sure. So as I said, we are very proud of the value proposition we offer to students. And in a most recent study that we looked at, when we compare the net price, which is the all-in price after tuition, room and board, fees, and then reflecting financial aid, free financial aid, the net price to attend UMass is 2/3 of that of the New England private peers. And so that certainly is a value proposition that we think is even more pronounced in this current environment.
Great. We also talked a little bit about high school students earning college degrees. Maybe you could expand a little about this, what's known as the Commonwealth Collegiate Academy. How does that work? When was that started? How is that going?
Sure. So the Commonwealth Collegiate Academy, or what we call early college, which provides access to college early for students that are often underrepresented in our colleges. We started it in 2022, so the fall of 2022. So we are now in our second year, and we have seen a tremendous increase in the number of students participating in this program. So I think in 2022, we had less than 200 students participating, and these were partnerships with 7 high schools around the Commonwealth, a very small number of high schools. That has now grown to 1,100 students at 22 high schools around the Commonwealth. And so they are in every region where we have campuses. There are relationships. And what this does is it gets students access to college credits while they're still in high school, and that could be them earning up to a year's worth of college credits at no cost to them.
And are they then going into the local UMass school, or can they take those credits and then, take them wherever they want?
It is their choice. What we do see, though, is a higher likelihood of a student that is enrolled in early college going to college and then successfully graduating from college, and certainly building those partnerships and connections with UMass leads to many of those students choosing UMass to continue their degree.
And is the finance of covering the cost of college one of the main reasons they're participating? Or is it also sort of they see it as like a leg up, or, do you know what I mean?
I think there's lots of reasons why high school students would decide to take college credits early. And I think it leads to all of the above, right? I think it creates partnerships that are invaluable to them and to us as an institution. It gives them comfort with some of our campuses. Some of these programs are held on campus, some of them are held in local high schools. And so I think it leads to better outcomes all around.
Now, UMass is obviously a state school system. How much of the budget is subsidized by the state? And how does that compare to your peer groups and your peer university systems in other states?
So as I said earlier, we're a $4.3 billion organization, and about 25% of our revenue comes from support from the state. for operations. And, you know, the comparison to other states is always a challenging comparison because the relationships between public institutions of higher ed and the states that they are in vary greatly. We are very fortunate for the stability and the reliability of the state's investment in UMass. Without a doubt, that helps us manage all that we are facing. And so I think that one place where we are working right now with the Commonwealth and our partners at the Commonwealth is on capital investment. So there is actually in the state budget that passed for the current fiscal year, there was a higher ed capital working group that was put together to look at how to invest in the capital aspects of higher education.
And is that for all state schools?
It is.
Not just the UMass system?
It is.
Speaking of capital, a few years ago, UMass bought the Mount Ida School in Newton. Can you talk a little bit about what was the motivating factor for that, and how has that helped with affordability at UMass?
So, you know, that was something that the Amherst campus was very interested in, and it's really about student success and getting students access to co-ops and internships, UMass Amherst students access to co-ops and internships. And as you can imagine, that's difficult, being in the western part of the state, having co-ops and internships closer to the Boston vicinity or the 128 vicinity. And so it was a land acquisition for UMass Amherst in order to set up programs that would allow pathways for students into the workforce through experiential learning. And so this is not an easy thing to build, and it's only a few years in the making, and so happy to share that there are now pathways for students in majors like psychology, public health, civics, and political science for those students. And so instead of taking a summer to come to Boston and have some of those co-op experiences, they can spend a semester on that campus.
Oh, so it's a residential campus?
It's a residential campus, and there's no additional cost for a student to do that.
So it's someone out in Amherst now has a shot to sort of a semester within the Boston area, and then they're connected with employers too?
That's right. And so when we surveyed UMass Amherst grads, it's interesting to understand that more than 70% of those grads, within 6 months, when they report their place of employment, it is in the greater Boston area.
Right.
And so it's a huge, UMass Amherst is a huge supplier of a skilled workforce for the Commonwealth and the Commonwealth's economy. And so we really want to create those pathways for students and make it easier for them. So
it sounds like that has starting to pay off. Like you said, it was maybe challenging to kind of get it going, but it's turning into a vibrant addition to the whole UMass system.
Yeah, and it's seamless for the student, right? From a tuition perspective, even from a meal plan perspective. They're just in a different location so they can get a different experience through an internship or a co-op.
And is it competitive to get it, you know, or how
I think it's the competition for it will grow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But right now it's still, I think, too early for us to think that we're limiting experiences.
Yeah. Well, this was great, a great discussion. We're sort of reaching the end of our time. Thanks so much, Lisa, for taking the time. Well, it was great to talk to you about UMass and what UMass is up to right now. Please thank everyone for watching, and stay tuned for other interesting topics through the Globe Summit for the rest of the day under the theme Boston's Breakthroughs. Check out globe.com/summit. And these summit sessions are being recorded, so you could hear more later if you wanted to.
Thank you very much, John.